Well, hello again, everyone. So today in this video, I'm going to teach you something new. So this video, the things that I'm going to talk about is actually just related to my previous video, which was the verbal aspect of communication. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about something different. So I hope you would learn something from me in this video. So yeah. So what I'm going to teach you about today is all about the nonverbal aspect of communication. Now, this topic is actually just related to my previous video, which was the verbal aspect of communication. Now, this presentation is brought to you by yours truly, Danise Tañac. Now, before I begin with my presentation, to those who don't know me, let me introduce myself again. My name is Danise Tañac. I am currently a college student. I am studying at Andres Bonifacio College, taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. So now let's cut the chit chat and let's get on with the presentation. So the nonverbal aspect of communication. First and foremost, what is the nonverbal aspect of communication? Now, the nonverbal aspect of communication does not make use of words. It is unlike the verbal aspect of communication, which utilizes words in communicating. Now, the nonverbal aspect actually entails gestures, facial expressions, and others of the like, which can communicate something without the use of words. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this presentation. Now, the nonverbal aspect of communication is not all about gestures and facial expressions. It actually includes a lot of things. Now, for this presentation, I'm going to talk about the kinesics, proxemics, chronemics, haptics, artifactual, and physical appearance. So those are the things that are included in the nonverbal aspect of communication. So in this video, I'm going to talk about these things in detail and one by one. So let's proceed to the first one, which is kinesics. Now, kinesics is the language of the body. You know, when we use gestures, those are kinesics. Now, in kinesics, a person can communicate something with just the use of the movements of the body or body language. So how you move can actually communicate something to a person. Now, the most common kinesics or body languages that are prevalent in this modern day system is the hand wave and the thumbs up. So these hand gestures actually communicate something to a person. Like for example, a hand wave can either signify a hello or a goodbye. Now a thumbs up can either mean good job, you did great, or you can do better next time. So those are kinesics, the language of the body. They can communicate something with the use of body language. Now, next to kinesics is proxemics. Now, proxemics is the language of space. So it's referring to proximity, like how far, how near. That is proxemics. Now, space can actually communicate something to a person. Even though it's just space, it can communicate something. So here are some examples. So we have here two couples. Now, the first couple being near each other, and the second couple, which is kind of far away from each other. Now, their proximity is actually communicating something. Like, for example, in the first picture, you can deduce that this couple is actually like into each other. They really love each other. So that communicates something. Their proximity or their closeness can communicate something. Now, in the second picture, they're kind of distant from each other. You can deduce that, oh, they must be going through a lover's quarrel, or maybe they're in a fight. So the proximity that they have can actually communicate something to people. So those are proxemics, the language of space. Now, next we have is chronemics. Now, chronemics is the language of time. Like, depending on the time, it can actually like communicate something, like when you're early or when you're late, it can actually communicate something to a person. Now, here are some examples of chronemics. So this is actually pretty common in being early and being late. Now, depending on your time, it can actually communicate something. Like, for example, when you're in work, when you're in school, and you're early, it actually communicates something. Like, it's telling people that, oh, this person must value his job or value his studies very well, that he's being early. And in contrast to that, in being late, well, it can actually communicate the opposite, like this person must be very lazy, this person is very tardy or kind of useless. So the time can actually communicate something to a person. So those are chronemics. Now, next we have our haptics. Now, haptics is the language of touch. So depending on where you're touching or how you are touching, as long as it's touch, it can actually communicate something to a person. Now, here are some examples. So we have a pat on the shoulder and a pinch on the cheek. Now, these two examples can actually communicate something to a person without the use of words. Like, for example, by patting someone on the shoulder, you're actually communicating like it's gonna be all right, or you did a good job, or you can do better next time. So those are the things that a pat on the shoulder can actually communicate. Now, next we have is a pinch on the cheek or pinching the cheek. This is most common in children. So, for example, if you pinch a child in the cheek, it actually is communicating something like, oh, this baby is very cute, you know? We tend to pinch things when we find them cute. So, yeah, it's just touch, but it's actually communicating something to someone. Next we have is artifactual. Now, artifactual is the language of things. So objects, depending on where they are and what they are, can actually communicate something to a person. So here are some examples. We have a ring and a crown. Now, these two objects can actually communicate something to a person. Like, for example, you're walking on the street and you saw two people having rings. You can easily deduce that, oh, they're married. Or like, oh, they're engaged. That's why they have rings. See? They're actually communicating something, even though they're just objects. Or for example, a crown. A crown can actually communicate something to someone. Like for example, you see a person wearing a crown, you can easily associate that person to royalty. He must be a queen, he must be a king, or she must be a queen, because he or she is wearing a crown. So those items are actually communicating something to a person, even though they're just objects, but they can actually communicate. Now, next we have, and probably the last, is physical appearances. Now, who said appearances didn't matter? Now, physical appearances are how people see you. So the way you dress, how you present yourself can actually communicate something to a person. So take these examples. So we have this guy and this guy. So on the first picture, this guy is actually pretty casual. He's wearing pretty casual clothes. Now, his presentation of himself is actually communicating something. Like you can say that, oh, on a he must be on a walk, or he must be going to the mall or something, because it's pretty casual. Now, the other picture, which is this man wearing a suit and a tie, you can actually deduce that, oh, he must be going to work. He's on a business or something. See, physical appearances can actually communicate something to you, even though they're just presentations of yourself, but they can actually communicate something to someone. So those are physical appearances. Now, that would be all for this video. Thank you very much for watching and taking some time out of your busy schedule to listen to my presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope that you have learned something from me. So, thank you and goodbye.